Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Empty Quiver, everything archery related and a little more, proudly sponsored by Tethered, Vantage Point Archery, and Darton Archery. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Empty Quiver podcast. We're here with Alex and Brian from Vantage Point Archery. Welcome in, guys. Nice to have you on here. Finally, we've been talking about it for a little while, Alex. And
thanks for having us.
Hey, no worries. I love talking about broadheads, and you guys have supported us for 2.5 years now, something like that. So it's really good, to have you on here. And, I'm looking forward to getting some good discussion about broadheads and Vantage Point Archery, of course, as well. So we'll start off with just a little bit, you guys introduce yourselves, just for the ease. Alex, you might as well start. I think you've been with the company longer, actually. But I mean, just for you guys to listen, Alex started the same time that we got sponsored by Vantage Point Archery, so we're kind of on the same footing with that time frame together. So,
Yep. So I'll go ahead. My name's Alex Christensen. I'm the marketing manager here at Vantage Point. So I've been here a little over 2 years now. I love it. It's been fun to grow with the company. We've been around for several years, but really up until the past couple of years, we weren't really selling on the website and stuff like that. So we've really made huge strides over the past couple of years to reach larger markets and grow. So it's been fun to be a part of that and a great team. My background, I am not or was not a bow hunter before joining the team. So I'm just getting into it. This past season was my first season going out. I didn't get anything, but I still loved it. And I can see, why everyone's so obsessed with it. It's fun to get out there and sit in the woods. We're here in Indiana, so whitetail hunting and then hopefully some turkey hunting here. I think it opens up this week. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'll let Brian go ahead.
Yeah, Brian Poe. I'm the sales manager for VPA. Been here almost 7 months now. And I actually shot the broadheads for about 3 years prior to coming to work for VPA. So I believed in the product before I was selling it. It's just done us really well. My sons and my son-in-law and I have had really good success with the heads, and nothing like an American-made product. So a little background on me. I just finished my 38th archery season here in Indiana, so I'm not new. Along the way, I've been a lot of dumb things I've done, a lot of bad decisions, in hunting, and you just learn a lot. And then by now you think you have it figured out, and you still don't. You'll never master it because the animals have a say. And but I love it. Nothing like bow hunting to me, being out there in the woods and knowing that I can't reach out at that 70 or 80 yard mark. I've got to wait for the deer to get closer as opposed to rifle hunting. Nothing wrong with it, but for me, it's just all about bow hunting.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. I am not against rifles. I use them, but it's more like a harvesting tool for meat and stuff for me now. It's not so much of a hunting experience. I mean, it depends, of course, the terrain and stuff like that. Alpine, rocky areas and stuff like that. A rifle is probably a pretty good hunting tool in that situation. You know what I mean? But no, it's very, very cool. So, what bow are you currently using, Brian? What is your history with bows and stuff like that?
It's funny. I've got a 2003 Bowtech Stalker that I bought new, and it's hanging in my shop wall downstairs between two of the deer that I've harvested with it over the years. And funny story about that, I used that for 16 seasons until 2019. I just figured, whatever, it shoots straight, it works. And my wife was actually the one going, you need to get a new bow. The technology has got to be better. They have to be faster. Now, most people are the opposite, where they're fighting to get bows. And my wife's telling me I should. Well, it took a while, but I finally went and shot them. And I was blown away at how much more efficient they are, the draw cycles, just you name it. They're just better tools. And it just made sense. So since then, I have bought more bows probably than anybody I know. It's become a hobby though. What I'll do is I'll buy them used. I'll get on some classifieds online. I'll buy them used, get good deals, and I bring them home, take them out of the box, tune them, set them up, shoot them, get them to where I'm happy with them, and then I just flip them and sell them, and then I get another one, and it's just a hobby. Now, some of those I've hung on to. They were just really good, and I just didn't want to get rid of them. So I'm a Bowtech and PSE guy. I've got a long draw, so those draw cycles are similar to me, and I've shot both of those the longest. Nothing against the other bows. There are so many great ones out there now, to the point where I guess a lot of what they call now your budget bows, your mid-level bows, like the Bear Alaskan, and those are great bows. Those things, what people are getting for the money. I think Alex, you shoot a Bear. They've done a ridiculously great job with what they're offering the market now, which I think is very cool. So my current bow right now is a PSE Mach 34, the carbon, and for me personally, it's phenomenal. It's really, really good. It's like I went to full draw and I just got in the perfect position and somebody just stuck the bow in there and it just fits.
Yeah. Have you shot the Levitate?
I did. I shot 2 arrows through it.
Yeah, because I tried that bow and it was nice to hold, but the draw cycle for me was horrible on that thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I was
That's
like,
why I shot 2 arrows.
I was like, what is going on? This is supposed to be a top line bow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was not nice at all. Okay, that's good. I'm glad I wasn't like crazy on that, like because like a main factor for me for bows is draw cycle.
Absolutely.
You know, like I'm sponsored by Darton, but everything that we've shot, we've shot before we got sponsored by them, and so I just really fell in love with the draw cycle on them, and it's just like round. There's no lumps. I don't know if you shot any of the new Darton bows or not, but yeah,
they're great.
I've got the new Sequel 33 out there. Just turned up today. I'm gonna magically put it together and get used to it in a week because I go to Africa next week again. So,
nice.
Yeah, that'll be a bit of fun. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But no, it's cool. It's good to like from just the quick time we've talked here. It sounds like me and you are kind of on the same page with a lot of the same sort of ideas behind hunting and stuff like that. And
absolutely,
yeah, bow hunting's. There's only a few things I've done in life continuously, and bow hunting is going to be one of those ones that sticks to me. I can feel it. It's just I've done it 5 years now, and I'm just still as passionate about it now as I was the first day I picked up.
It doesn't get any better.
No.
It gets better, but it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
No way.
I don't want it to go away. You know what I mean? I enjoy it. So no, that's cool.
Yep.
So Alex, Bryanston, you got a beer?
Yep. I got my bow last year, and I went to our local shop close to the VPA shop and got a Bear Legit. So I'm a lefty, so there wasn't a ton of options, but I really like it. Yeah, it's good enough for me. I mean, I'm not, obviously super skilled to know much different, right? But it's good. I like it. I like getting out there and shooting the targets and, kind of tinkering around with different setups. We've got a lot of broadheads to test out, so I've got kind of access to all kinds of stuff, so it's been fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, just talk about testing. I've never asked you guys, do you guys have like somewhere consistently you test your heads? Do you have a testing range? What do you do for your head testing? That's a great like I've never ever bothered to ask you guys that. You must have internal stuff you do for your heads. So how do you test your broadheads?
Yeah, actually, in the building, we did some testing with one of the Omegas. My first week that I started at BPA, and I think somebody else, it was Ryan, the testing or two before. I think somebody shot the wall. That was before I got there, but
is it really testing if that doesn't happen?
Yeah. So those are the only ones I've been a part of. But there's cow bones, there's deer bones, there's that type of stuff involved, and it's not so much, in my opinion, that type of testing impact isn't to see what the head will do to the bone. It's to see how the head will withstand it, the edge retention, and if it'll curl the tip, and how the blade retains its edge.
Yeah. And are you guys using a hooter shooter for that? Or are you guys just shooting
bodies?
It?
We have one. We have one. I can't remember the name. We got it from Bass and Bucks.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a hooter shooter, but it's the same thing, and we're going to utilize that for testing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. But I was talking to John Lusk, like it was the last podcast we did. I don't know if you listened to that, but it's funny. We were talking about it. It's like most people, maybe not so much anymore, right? But like from a kid, most people try to build arrows and stuff like that. And, kids smash things and that's how you learn stuff, right? But like most people are going to look at a broadhead, I think, and go, oh, that should work. Or that's a good idea. And then equally, you can look at some broadheads, unfortunately, and be like, what in the world was that person thinking? They probably should have smashed more things as a kid. You know what I mean? But so like you guys don't strike me, and I've never seen anything at all from you like that like I get the feeling by the time it comes out, you're probably 99% sure that it's going to work anyway. That's kind of what I feel about your products. The other thing is I haven't seen behind it. Maybe there's like a lot of stuff that never gets launched. I don't know, but You know what I mean? Like by the time you get to that testing stage, I think all the engineering and design work has kind of been done, and it's more
Yeah.
just to prove your point rather than anything else. You know?
Yep, we've got a super thorough, R&D process that we go through when we launch a new product. We don't want to launch a product that hasn't gone through a lot of testing and a lot of development to ensure it's, a good quality product that we're
Mm-hmm.
happy with to put to market. So, there's definitely a lot of stages we go through and go back to the drawing board. And, we do a lot of testing, like Brian mentioned. But we also do a lot of other testing as far as, hardness on the Rockwell scale and different things like that to ensure that, we're putting out quality products.
Yeah. So when it comes to like arrow flight stuff like that, how do you know how you design them kind of to make sure that they're going to fly? Is it more just about symmetry, or is there other tricks to it too?
Yeah, I would say first of all, start with quality materials
Mm-hmm.
and a good machining process that's repeatable and tight tolerances.
Yeah.
And if you go there, obviously there's tolerances in the head, tolerances in the insert, tolerances in the arrow, which is why some people have to call arrows out and they do different things and knock tune and insert tune. That's all part of it as well. But yeah, when you combine those three materials and a good machining process and then the tight tolerances, and
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty much a given. If your bow is tuned, if you do
Mm-hmm.
your part and you're not torquing the bow like crazy, punching the trigger, doing typical things that we do, then you
Yeah.
won't have any issues.
Yeah. I I was talking to I can't remember, it was maybe Jeff about it at ATA show, but I couldn't get the 150 grain three blades to fly properly because and it was random. There was nothing consistent that was happening with them, and I worked out that my bow was too fast, and it basically if I as soon as I cranked down the poundage on it a little bit, like closer to 60 on it, they were flying
Yeah.
beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something weird about having this is just more general information for people. If you've got like a longer broadhead and it's doing weird things on it, it's probably more to do with the speed of your bow actually. And I put like a helical on the fletchings that did stabilize it better, but every now and again it's like it catches a weird air pocket or some wind or something, and I guess it just becomes more like the front of a plane or something when it's a bit longer and too fast, kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just I don't even know why I'm talking about that. Something you jog my memory on that
You,
anyway. But
you
yeah,
know, and something along that line is people forget or they're unaware that even airplanes can't fly too fast.
yeah, exactly.
You'll shear the wings off because of drag. It's so yeah, you've got to tinker with that setup again. When I talk about tuning your bow, that's
Hmm.
weight, that's draw length, that's everything to make sure it's right. And it can take days and weeks to get
Yeah.
things dialed in. It can
Hmm.
take a long time.
Yeah, that's it. And it was kind of interesting as I don't know if I actually talked about it with John in the podcast. I can't remember, but he was saying still about how like mechanicals have a accuracy advantage. Basically, forgive me if I'm misquoting him, but like I don't believe that anymore. And basically, what you're saying too is if you have a tuned bow, like I can get those Omegas fly amazing, like really
Yeah.
really nice. I like
Mm-hmm.
those. I think they even fly maybe a little bit better than the what do you want to call it, the original single bevels
Yeah,
that you
just
guys
the
put
CW.
out?
traditional single bevel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know if that was something to do with Daryl's design on that. Was it?
So the Omegas are slightly smaller in cutting diameter intentionally, so they're about an inch and a 16th versus
Yes.
inch and an eighth, for those excellent flight characteristics.
Okay, so that's what it is on them. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get Daryl on one day actually because it'd be really interesting just to kind of pick his brains about some of the more technical stuff to do with flight and stuff with broadheads. So
Yep.
Yeah,
um,
he'd love that, I'm sure. We'll get him
yeah,
on here.
He
yeah,
would.
that'd be sweet. So no,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's cool. So maybe Alex takes this question. I know Brian, just chip in where you want to, but like, how did VPA get started? Like, how long has it been going for? And has it always been broadheads? Like, where did it start?
Yeah, yeah. So we'll jump back here a little bit. We're a machine shop, so we still have our machine shop, Absolute Machining. That's kind of how the company started out. They've been around for over 20 years now, machining different things for different industries. A lot of local aluminum extrusion companies and stuff like that that we make parts for, and still do. But from that, our head engineer, Jeff Miller, who's still with us, not sure if you got to meet him, Matt, or not.
I met him at the first ATA I went to.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So he is a big bow hunter. He was a big traditional bow hunter and just saw the need in the market for a better quality broadhead. And being a machinist, he machined his own broadhead, and it really just went from there, word of mouth, and kind of started out in the trad community since that's what he was a part of, and grew, from there. And then, like I mentioned earlier, over the past couple of years, we've really started taking this from kind of just a side passion project into a serious business. So we've been growing like crazy, and it's been fun. And I think the first head he came out with was a 3 blade, maybe 150 grain. And now we have, 2 blade, 3 blade, single bevel stuff, 100 grain all the way up to 300. So it's just grown into something. I'm sure, when he first started, had no idea kind of how far it would go. So, I mean, we machine, for the archery industry. And then we also do, like I mentioned, aluminum companies, different things like that. And we're recently started getting into the firearm industry as well.
Yeah, that's cool. And I was going to jump into this a little bit later on, but you just mentioned it too. And you guys manufacture for the archery industry, right? With other broadheads, and we can't say which ones and stuff. But from what I talked to Jeff too, is like they're quite open. Like if someone's got this broadhead idea or whatever, you guys are quite approachable with things like that. Is that what
Mm-hmm.
do I understand
Yeah,
that
I mean,
correctly?
we pride ourselves in, our products are made in the USA. So if somebody, here wants to get their product made, we want to be able to make it for them. We want to keep products in the USA. We have 30 families that work for us in our shop. We have the capabilities to, bring your ideas to life. So we're always open to having those conversations. And especially in the hunting industry, like let's bring back a lot of these products we're using and manufacture them in the US. There's no
Yeah.
reason, we can't be doing that. So we're all about, supporting that and working together.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, really, really cool. And I mean, like
Absolutely.
I was just saying to, Brian earlier, is that like I used VPA, I think maybe for a year or so before we signed up with you guys, and I remember during my first tests, it was a homemade target, right? But that target had been catching all the broadheads, and then I used one of your guys' ones, and it went like right through, and I actually broke it because it hit a metal post that I just had I had no idea it was going to go the whole way through like that, And I was like, aha, okay, this is a real broadhead, huh? Like it was really, really cool. So, and I mean,
Yeah.
like they just zip through everything. That's good. So
Yeah, and the edge. I mean, I actually have two heads right here. This, um, I love single bevel and the Omega. Had great success with those, but one
yeah,
of my sons shoots this 200 grain
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for whitetail hunting. That's the actual head that he passed
Hmm.
through his buck with this last year. And right before we went on, I actually cut a bald spot. That's with a 3 blade. Now, most people say you can't get a 3 blade very sharp. Well, this one you can, and this one has been used already. This one's
Hmm.
passed through a deer. And then my Omega from last year, this is the actual head I shot my buck with.
Yeah.
And that edge, I would stick that back in a quiver and use it. I
Hmm.
won't. I will touch it up, but I would have no problem with that edge retention. And that's after a complete pass through there as well. So,
I don't know where my box of EPA is, right? But it was getting a little bit sad looking because I don't know how many. I can't remember. You shot me like, did you send me like 9 heads or something, Alex? And I shot like, I remember 26 animals with them or something. Like,
Hmm.
they're just
Hmm.
amazing heads. And
yeah.
I'm just trying to think. I don't think there was any that I had to throw away because they broke. I think I lost some of them. Like like especially if you're shooting goats and stuff in New Zealand, like if you get a pass through, it might disappear 200 meters down the valley behind the goat.
Yeah.
If it's kind of wrong. So,
Yep.
Hmm.
yeah, they were awesome, and I'll dig that out somewhere and I'll send you a photo of it, Brian. But there's a few in there that are looking a pretty battle
Yeah.
hardened now. So
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's good.
Love it.
And
Love it.
that's such a good thing. Like as people sometimes say, "Oh, they're so expensive." I say, "Yeah, but you buy them once. You know what I mean?" And like as long as you don't lose them, you can just resharpen them most of the time.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
like something that people don't take into account economically. When
Hmm.
you're buying broadheads, is like how many deer can you shoot with one VPA head? Like no one really knows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and, and the thing along that line too, and Alex is going to verify this, the last podcast we were on, people, spend $1,400 for a bow and $300 for a rest and $300 for sights. And we
I
want the best arrows and, the aftermarket inserts. We put a $12 head on the front of it.
yeah, I
And
know.
it's like, that is the thing that matters after that arrow leaves the bow. It's not going to get any sharper. It's only going to get more dull.
Hmm.
So it needs to be razor sharp. no moving parts, in my opinion, no replaceable anything. Again, I call our heads boringly reliable.
Yeah.
They're not fancy. You look at them and you go, yeah, whatever, it's a broadhead. But I see beauty in that. I've got a long machine shop background, and just to put together something that's so solid, robust, out of tool steel, that's almost indestructible unless you shoot it into rocks. But yeah, there's just something about that to me that just the quality is there and the reusability. And I like sharpening too. Something about killing an animal with a broadhead, resharpen it, putting it back in the quiver again, instead of taking one that's mangled, throwing it in the trash and buying a new one. That
Yeah.
just doesn't sound appealing to me.
Yeah. I just shot my first animal with a trad bow earlier this year, and I was just using a 40-pound recurve, and I had the 200 grain Omega on the front, and it passed the whole way through the red deer. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like it's pretty impressive head, that one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So we just kind of talked on about a little bit. Like, what do you guys think? Maybe Brian, I guess is. Well, let's start with you at least. Is like, what do you think people should be looking for when selecting a broadhead? You know what I mean? Like, what, like, you can talk for yourself too, or what you think people should do
Uh,
generally. Like, I know what I do, but it's
yeah.
always
Yeah.
interesting.
Let's say a beginner, someone like Alex has just started last year. What do I do? Aside from the arrow weight and everything else, don't sweat that stuff. Start with a good fixed blade head. And I would prefer something that's machined one piece, not just because we make them, but it just makes sense. Why would I want to introduce a variable in my equipment? If my bow is tuned great and I shoot daily to make sure my form is good, I'm not torquing the bow fits me, the draw length is fine. Putting variables on the tip of my arrow to me just doesn't make any sense. So I would say start with a good quality machined fixed blade broadhead and then work around that. Make it work from there. If you're more experienced and you're the guy that says, yeah, I've always used mechanicals and they've worked for me. Well, just because you've recovered some of your animals with 12 inches of penetration doesn't mean you're going to recover all of them. And truth be told, there are a lot of TV hunters out there. If you watch their videos and you notice they use a mechanical head and they smack the deer and the back end of that arrow is whipping all over, that's just wasted energy as opposed to passing through or at least going as deep as possible with a razor sharp fixed blade head. And so inside of that too, you don't know what's going on with the broadhead. Sometimes they're mangled, blades are broken. That's wasted energy as well. I look at it like this. I've used this analogy before too. Let's say a NASCAR pit boss goes to his driver and says, hey, I know, and I'm just throwing out a number. I know we can get away with 800 horsepower in a car, but how about this week we just go 720? They're going to look at him like he's lost his mind. They want all of the energy. I want all the energy in my broadhead. So I would recommend that to anybody, beginner, advanced, old timers. At least give it a look. And what I would say is if you're established and you have an arrow system you like, your bow is good, it's tuned, just start with a broadhead. You don't have to go crazy with FOC or certain fletching or anything else. Start with a broadhead first and then work from there. Don't overcomplicate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. What about you, Alex? You got anything to add to that, or is that, you know?
Kind of same thing. I mean, we've talked about it in a lot of podcasts, and I've just talked about it, with friends and people in the shop. But there's a lot of information out there. As someone like me who's new to bow hunting, like where do you start? There's so many YouTube videos, and there's always, for every topic, there's people that are really strong leaning one way and people strong the other. And it's like, how do I know what's
Yeah.
right? So I know Brian and I always talk about just testing it out for yourself and
Mm-hmm.
see what works well. And like he mentioned, good quality products. I put the 125 grain Omega on my arrow this past season. And I guess something big for me too, being new, is I didn't want to, go through the hassle of learning how to sharpen like really intricately. I know some of the
Mm-hmm.
single bevel stuff, so the Omega kind of eliminates that problem.
Mm.
And then even the 3 blades, are super easy to sharpen. So that was kind of a consideration. And then just, putting it on the arrow and practicing with it and making sure I'm comfortable before going out in the field. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to bring in for like archery. it's funny is like I watch a lot of people shoot really good when they first start, and then they start overthinking things, and then their shooting goes to crap, And it's exactly
Yeah.
like kind of what you're saying is trying to keep it as simple as you can is a really good thing, and not overthinking it. And the sharpening
Yeah.
thing can be quite daunting. And if people listening you don't know, those Omega heads are a single bevel, but you don't need a jig or anything. It's got stay flat technology, right? That's what it's called. Basically, you
Yep.
put it
Lay flat.
flat like you do a 3-blade, and you just go for gold, and that comes up nice and sharp every time. So,
Okay.
yeah, that really takes a lot of the guesswork out of everything. So, no, it's
Got it.
good. Yeah, I just wanted to bounce back a little bit, Brian, because I actually I've talked to Ray Ranch Fury about this, and I was talking to John Lusk about it the other day, and my I love single bevels, but I feel like I have a lot of wasted energy now because, like, I was just saying, is I can't think of an animal I've shot recently, which is a good thing that the animal, the arrow hasn't been completely buried behind it, basically. And part of me feels like I want like a wider. I'd love to dabble with it, like a wider single bevel, just to get a little bit more, And like Alex was saying, is maybe you can't use it out at 60 yards. Who I don't do that anyway, but you know what I'm
Right.
saying is that for the type of hunting I do, I think I would love to play around with, just to test it. So what, like I'm a bit of a tinkerer and stuff like that. I just want to see like a wider, single bevel head basically because of just what I said is, yeah, every time I shoot an arrow, you can even see it in the filming. There's not very many frames a second. Like, there's almost no difference between it. It's like the deer's not there. It's basically what I'm trying to say to you, which is
Yeah.
again is a good thing, and means I can shoot my animals on more challenging angles and stuff like that too. I'm really not scared at all with my setup to do frontal shots and stuff like that. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but I have never taken a frontal shot that hasn't worked yet. So, I mean, I'm a human. I'm sure one day maybe something bad will happen. I'm not wishing it did, but I just kind of would like to see a little bit of a different option there, because I think, oh man, I ran a bow hunting survey a few years ago just to see what the average bow hunter was, and I think most people ran a 60-pound bow from memory. Actually, I'm talking about compounds, not traditional and stuff like
Yep.
that. And so then you get like I've always run a 70 just because I think at some stage I'll probably dial it back down to 60. I don't shoot enough regularly anymore to maintain the strength for that 70. I'm just being honest.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would like to play around with a wider single bevel basically. And I know we talked to Jeff at what was that place we went to? I can't remember. Like the first dinner, but
Oh,
uh,
Texas Roadhouse. It was
yeah,
Matt's first Texas Roadhouse
that's right. It
experience.
was awesome.
Yep.
And like I think I might reach out again. He said he'd machine me a couple of heads to play around with, and I think that'd be kind of fun just to see what it does. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's I'm a tinkerer. I've got my own bow shop downstairs. Do everything from limb changes to tuning, setting up. So if I get a bow, it goes from the box to my shop. The shop doesn't do anything. I just buy it or have it delivered here and then go from there. But so the tinkering is that's another addiction that can get it can get expensive if you let it, but it's fun and it's rewarding. And then sometimes you just go, you know what? I have tinkered with a really good setup and I've made it not fly better. So I think I'm going to go back to where I was, but it kind of eliminates a lot of things.
yeah,
So touching on what you said, it's interesting about maybe having too much energy. And I see what you mean. At first I thought, I think
what
Matt
is
hit
he
his
talking
head
about?
here. So,
Yeah,
but I see what you mean. Uh, to go maybe with a wider head and maybe inflict more damage inside and still get a pass through. That's
yeah,
yeah. I wouldn't think, especially shooting 70 pounds, even at a decent draw length, you're going to generate so much energy, and the bows are so efficient. And if your arrow is flying so straight,
yeah.
nothing to open to rob yourself of that
Hmm.
energy, you could probably go quite a bit wider. I mean, people say 3 blades don't penetrate, and we've had no problems with blowing through deer with these or coyotes at all.
Yeah,
And plus, there's an extra blade, so you do get more cutting surface. So
yeah.
I would say knowing your setup is so important. Again, I don't care what position white-tailed deer is at. If it's quarter and two, if it's facing, I don't care. It's just I'm not worried about what's there, whether it's the
Hmm.
knuckle, whether it's the shoulder blade. I've just seen too many of these heads blow through those and not have any issues, and short track jobs as a result. Very
Yeah.
short.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the whole thing is like it really doesn't matter. Like I find the deer, they die. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah,
know. I think I'm just overthinking it maybe a little bit too, but I just feel like there's like wasted energy there. That's what I feel like sometimes. But you know what I mean? Like end results the same. Deer's not very far away.
yeah,
So really at the end of the day, what does it matter? I
yeah,
guess. But
yeah,
yeah, it's just
Well,
fun to think.
that's what happens when or you guys, like you said, you're living and breathing this every day. You're going to find new things to, think about and new ideas. And that's where we come in. And we do take all our customer feedback and, pass it on to the design team. And that's why we have so many SKUs, and so many broadheads that we have is because we
Mm,
take that feedback and we're like, okay, yeah, I think we can, turn your idea into a good quality product that's going to be effective. So, we appreciate that. And we do have some new products coming out this year that we think people will be excited about. And we're always looking for new ideas and taking your feedback into consideration. So, that's a big, big piece of, who we are.
hmm. Yeah, that's cool. And I know we talked about bleeder veins and stuff a few times and things like that too. And um, yeah, I haven't really ever dabbled with bleeders that I can remember anyway. So that'd be something interesting if that ever was to come out. So um, yeah. So we'll just step off archery for a little bit. You guys have started Vantage Point Armory now. How was that going for you? Like that's was great to see at the Great American Outdoor Show. You guys had a booth there in the what was it, the armory section, the firearm section? I can't remember
Yep.
what they called it, but and like you guys are making at the moment modifications for pistols, is that right, or handguns? I don't know you classify them over there, but um, what else have you guys got? Cooking for Vantage Point Armory. I'm sure there's a lot of people with ears open and like kind of waiting to see what's coming out. Like, have you got anything you share with us? Or is that still under wraps basically?
No, I can go ahead and then Brian, he's kind of our firearm expert, so I'll let
Oh,
him,
nice.
mostly talk to this. But we
Yeah.
just started it, we've like we talked about, we're a machine shop
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we want to continue to put out good quality American made products and that's where a lot of the passion lies for the guys in the shop is archery and then also the firearm side. So it makes sense for us to, pursue this industry and we just started, I mean, really the beginning of this year, like you mentioned at the NRA show, we had a booth. So what we're manufacturing right now are patent pending pistol compensators. They don't require a threaded barrel. They MSRP for $150, so a lot cheaper than the other options there on the market. American made, and then they mount, no threaded barrel, so they mount either a weapon light like a Surefire X300 or directly to the rail. So we've got a few models right now, and I'll let Brian kind of talk about, more of what's to come.
yeah. That's a great segue. That pretty much covers it there. There's a market need for firearms parts and accessories that aren't accessible to everybody in this country because there are states that aren't quite as free as others, unfortunately. So we had a lot of great feedback at SHOT Show from California, New York, Canada, with really tight restrictions. I'm working with a couple companies right now to distribute our product in states that aren't quite as free as others. Let's just call them what they are. They're communistic states, all right? That's what they are. So their laws are anyway. They want
Hmm.
to take our constitution and trample it, all in the name of safety, and it's actually the opposite that's true. It's statistically provable. So as far as more products, there are going to be different variations of the compensator. It's starting to get some traction, and just by being around firearms quite a while, it can take some time. You're putting something on the front of a firearm that's different than what people have seen before. They're not used to it. They're used to a threaded barrel, threaded compensator, and if it's not that, then it can't work. There's no way. And then people have started using it, and influencers have done some testing with it. We've had some really good testers all over the country that are extremely qualified. Have they even written us out some nice reports of what they found in the testing, all the ammunition they've used, the holster fit, and they've been really, really overwhelmed by how well this thing has functioned. So it's a good market need. It takes a while to develop and test them. I mean, we'd love to just get a bunch of them out there right now, but again, this is going on the front of a gun, and we want to make
Hmm.
sure it's reliable and functional as well before we release it. Um, we have had a couple of models at one of the forts in the U.S. Army base. So they're doing some initial testing on it, as well as the 75th Rangers. So that's exciting stuff. And I've been working with several firearms manufacturers since SHOT Show on working with us as an OEM distributor of the product as well. They might sell it as an add-on on their guns. So there's a lot to it, a lot of moving parts. It just takes a little while, to get traction in the market. I mean, it's only been since January.
Yeah. Are you guys thinking about doing anything for rifles, bipods, or anything like that? Or, like, are you going to stick to mainly handguns to start with?
I don't see why we wouldn't. So there's a market need.
Yeah, I
Why
mean,
not?
that could be the other thing too. Is like I'm pretty out of touch with rifles and like firearm hunting and stuff. To be honest with you, so
Yeah,
maybe it's a completely saturated market too. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you guys seem to like to find something different.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maybe going in and doing basically the same thing is not something you're interested in.
Yeah.
So
Now, on
yeah.
the other side of that, we do, we do as a shop, we manufacture products for other people. So I have reached out to firearms companies
Mm-hmm.
about doing manufacturing on their products as well,
Mm-hmm.
including scope mounts to several scope manufacturers. We do a scope mount already for a company, and it's really envied. Showed a couple of folks that, and they were really impressed by the scope mount we make. So there's always something to do there, even if it's not, I guess, an armory product. The
Mm-hmm.
absolute machining side, we can still participate in the firearms market even there.
Basically, I mean, you could. It sounds like you can make just about anything in your shop, from
Yeah.
what I understand, because you guys do like plastic cutting and stuff too, don't you? I think, or did I get that wrong?
Yep, we
Uh,
can machine a lot of different materials. I mean, most of the products we're doing just, for the nature of our customers are steel or
Mm-hmm.
aluminum, but we can do a variety of materials. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty damn cool. It must like. I was just thinking before, I was like, can you imagine how many hours hunters spend in the trees, right? I think a vast majority of them are fairly similar minded, where they're trying to think about things to, like new technology or improvements or something like that. Can you imagine how many, like, if we could capture all that on a piece of paper, like how big it would be after every season? It'd be
oh yeah.
insane.
There's always an idea. Always an
Always,
idea.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
That's
So
great.
let's go back to broadheads again. Like, what do you think of the current, I don't know, what do you want to call them, marketing trends, like with design and stuff like that? And where do you see it going? Like, I have my own thoughts around it all, you know what I mean? But in some ways, I think it's getting more ridiculous, um, and I don't really know how to change it so much because to be honest with you, the big companies that have all the money can basically market things however they want. And unfortunately, well, I won't say just Americans, but 80% of the bow hunting market is America, just lap it up. You know what I mean? Like without
Mhm.
any thought themselves to anything. So let me go back again. I guess like is where do you see design going, and like are you happy with how the industry is, or do you not care? You just do your own thing.
I think
Right on.
just to start would just be like, for us, we're going to stick true to, integrity, making sure we're putting out quality products, American made products, because that's what we stand
Mm-hmm.
behind. Um, and not just bending, I guess, to the needs of trying to, be the cheapest broadhead or whatever product it is on the market, and putting our money to where it makes a difference too when we're putting it back out, supporting groups that, are supporting conservation efforts and stuff like that. A lot of our I guess marketing is really just partnering with companies or different individuals like you, Matt, and people out there who are putting bow hunting in a good light and, shining a positive light on hunting. And, because there is a lot of, feedback, negative feedback, and that we kind of have to fight through on a daily basis. And it seems to just kind of be getting worse and worse. So, it's
What
more,
is some of the stuff that you're fighting on that, Alex? Just
I mean, not us particularly, just a lot of the legislation that happens in the US, a lot of, about wolves out west right now and
oh,
different
yep.
things like that.
Sorry,
So
I got you now.
just
Yep,
just yeah, just things
yep.
like that we
Mhm,
can support through, who we choose to work with and different things like that, and not
mhm,
just working with someone who, maybe has the biggest name in the industry. We really want to partner with people who have the same values as us and
Hmm.
that we can really stand behind and also stand behind us if that makes sense. So I'm sure Brian has, more to add too. That's
Hmm.
a pretty loaded one.
No, yeah, that's why I kind of tried to double back because I started to realize I was compounding the question phenomenally, So I was trying to strip it back down a little bit. Let's go with design, Brian. Like, what do you think about, like current trends, around design and stuff in the broadhead market?
I think it's, if you really think about it, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And it's true with broadheads, whether it's fixed or mechanical, but in the end, the whole idea is to harvest that animal as ethically and quickly as possible. We have a responsibility when we go out there to end an animal's life. And that's what we're doing. We're taking it, and we need to respect the animal, respect the game, and do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. It doesn't always go that way. I know the Native Americans who bow hunted back in the day with stone broadheads that they probably lost some animals. They probably had bad shots. They made their own stick bows. But
It happens
you
with
know,
rifles though too. Like people,
yes,
I'm so sick of people thinking it only happens with bow hunting. I mean,
I'll be honest. I think it might happen with a skilled hunter. I think it might happen more with rifles than it does bow hunting. I think because people think I've got a rifle, I can take this 300-yard shot and it's going to be easy. They don't factor wind. They don't factor a bad trigger press. There's a lot to shooting a gun accurately at distance. And they think because I've got this high caliber, long distance rifle and a $3,000 scope,
hmm
hey, I can reach out and touch anything I want. So from a
hmm
design standpoint, money is the master. And so whatever these big companies can sell the most of is what they're going to continue to create, even if it's garbage.
hmm
At SHOT Show this year, there was a major name I'll just say in the bow hunting industry. And I was talking to him about a previous time we'd met and to see if he'd remember me and my son. We were at ATA last year. And, he said, what do you got there? And I had a pack of broadheads I was showing to somebody else. And he looked at me and he goes, oh, those look great. And I said, yeah, they're American made and they're fixed. He goes, problem is you guys could never pay me what so-and-so pays me, even though you probably have a better head. That's exactly what he told me. We also know some folks who have been in camp with another huge name in the industry
hmm
who said if he wasn't, his heads basically aren't the best, but they cut him a six-figure check every year.
hmm
And so there's a lot of that in the industry, and people have to realize it's kind of like looking at like a professional athlete and thinking if I practice enough, I can be there. You
Yes.
probably won't be. There's a huge genetic component in that. If
Yeah.
you're 5'2" as a senior in high school, you're probably not going to play in the NBA. Probably not going to happen. I don't care how much you work. And these professional archers, these people are the Michael Jordan of basketball to archery, like a Tim Gillingham, Kyle Douglas. You
Yeah.
aren't them. Paige Pierce, you can't do what they do. So you
hmm
have to bring yourself back to reality. Use setups that work for you based on your capabilities. I mean,
mm
Gillingham shoots a group this far from 120 yards. He can use whatever broadhead he wants because he literally can put that shot where he wants from bow hunting distance. Most of us can't. Most bow hunters have to be really smart to make sure that we're ethical. So that all kind of, I guess I went on a tangent there, but it does come back to the design, and the design should be whatever they are, whatever the companies want to do, but the end user has to pick what works for their particular
hmm
hunts, their particular skill set to make sure that it harvests the animals ethically.
hmm Yeah, I think that's the big thing is like, again, like I never openly crap on any other broadheads, but sadly there are some really bad ones out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of toyed with asking this question at all, but like I'm going to say I think, which is really not an American way of thinking, right? But I feel like if you're a broadhead manufacturer, you should. I mean, but then who governs that? But I just feel like not everybody should be able to make broadheads. That's what I want to say. Okay, like, do you know what I mean? Like, there
With
needs
some
to
of them
be,
I've seen, I agree.
man. Yeah, I mean,
They're
yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
They're terrible.
yeah. I won't say too much more, but
Stamp blades. They stamp blades, and those things disintegrate just by hitting ribs. They change direction when they hit a rib. They change
hmm
direction. They go up.
yeah,
You can watch it. I watched a video the other day and actually sent it to someone else to watch. And it was a frontal shot on a whitetail, close enough to where the angle was steep. and it was right in that. It was a good placement. This arrow went in and whipped side to side, and by the time the deer ran off, it was completely shifted. It was a mechanical head.
Yeah.
So what I think probably happened, no way to prove it, but what it looked like when I watched it back was the mechanical probably deployed one blade first,
Mm-hmm.
and that shifted direction. And it
Mm-hmm.
only got, I think, 12 inches of penetration. Ended up finding the animal, which for some people that's enough.
Yes.
But he took off. He was hurt, obviously. I mean, took off flying. And what I noticed, you put a good fixed blade head through an animal, they don't even know they're hit a lot of times. They
Yeah.
have no clue. No clue.
100%. 100%. It's such a different reaction. It's like, oh, what was that?
Yeah.
Versus that, man, I got something stuck in me and I feel like
Yeah.
I've been punched. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
seems to be the difference in reaction
Yeah.
from animals.
Yeah, and there are
So
people in the industry who think that's a good thing. There's another huge name in the industry who thinks that with that fixed blade head only penetrating so far and the arrow in them, the deer actually knows they're hurt. They're going to run faster. And they're going to create bigger blood trails. And there's
yeah,
so much wrong with that. We
yeah,
don't have enough time to even address it. But that is such a boneheaded philosophy. It
yeah,
just
it
doesn't make
is.
any sense.
And you know the other one too is like, oh, if the arrow's stuck in there, it's going to keep cutting more. I really don't know how much.
Nope.
I'm sure it does cut a bit more, right? Like if it's levering off a tree, it runs past or something. It's got to do a little bit. But I
Yeah.
mean, the other thing too is if the arrow's in 6 inches, that's pretty well wedged in there, and the back of the arrow is kind of pivoting more
Yeah.
than the stuff actually in the deer. So
And a rear deploying mechanical, you know what's going to happen when a mechanical head starts to pull out. When that arrow
mhm,
works it, it's going to close up anyway.
yeah,
That blade closes before it ever pulls out.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, that's silly logic.
Yeah, and I mean, like, kind of leading into, well, yeah, coming off the back of what you just said too, is like blood trails. It's something I'm quite proud. I know, like, you have, but you guys don't talk up blood trails a lot because blood trails are random. I mean, they're not like, you know what I mean? Like, and I was talking to John about this the other day. Unless you can shoot, which you can never do, the same deer in the same spot with 10 different broadheads. You know what I mean? Like, just you could like have a simulation,
Yep.
then you'll see a difference in blood trails, maybe, depending on the angle and all sorts of stuff, right? But there are so many uh, broadhead companies out there that are all about the blood trail, and it's just terrible marketing because you guys are probably in social media too. You read about it like, oh, I know it was a good shot. I can't see any blood anywhere, and you know what I mean. Like there must be so many good dead deer around that people just kind of can't find because they don't believe their shot was good because there's no blood trail on the ground. You know what I mean? Like some of the best shots I've ever made has almost been no blood on the ground
Mm-hmm.
because if you cut that pressure off the top of the heart, the chest cavity just fills up. There's nothing pushing the blood out, especially when you got no arrow left in there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So um there and I think maybe I know who you were well, one of the guys you were talking about actually, because he used to be sponsored by another broadhead that looks crazy, like much like the broadhead that he's putting out now. But I'm sure they've gone and sprayed the grass with blood afterwards on it. Like I have, and the only reason I say that, right, is the chances that the blood trail was that good for a video where they were doing broadheads uh, is a little bit too good to be true. Like, you think how many other thousands of hunting videos are shot every year, and I've never
Mm-hmm.
seen a blood trail like that before in my life.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, sure, you get some crazy stuff happening, but that was like painted for, I don't know, 30, 40 yards or something, just insanely. So people kind of need to wake up a little bit to all this crap marketing, and
Yeah.
and really try and support the better people in the industry. Like one of the guys that I really dislike the most, like he literally said, "Oh, I think I got it in the liver. That's okay." Like, you know what I mean? Like, what sort of statement are you saying to young hunters and stuff? Like, a liver shot is a lucky shot, okay? And it's never an okay to shoot them in the liver. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
just don't understand that sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
I
I
get a
mean,
bit,
it's a blood filter, so the animal's going to die. They're going to bleed to
yes,
death internally, most likely. And ironically, a few years ago, one of my sons, the one that shoots his 200 grain, he actually shot a giant buck, and he hit him a little back. He knew it right away. went through the liver and one lung, and this thing bled like crazy. I mean, he had the first time he stopped and stood in the cornfield, he went across the road. The blood was literally a quarter inch. It was a puddle. It was just unbelievable. Now, I've shot deer in the liver as well years ago. They didn't bleed that much. So again, blood trails are unreliable. You can't depend on that.
Yeah.
What I want to do is hit the front third of both lungs. It's so vascular up there. You even have a chance of hitting the windpipe, which we have done. And my deer don't go more than 70 or 80 yards. They just don't. You hear them crash or you see them. The past, gosh, I think out of my boys and my son-in-law, I think the past 7 deer we've shot, we've had one go over 100 yards, and it was a bad shot, and the deer moved, or poorly placed shot, and the deer moved as well. Ended up recovering him, and I firmly believe it was because he had a single bevel VPA, and it penetrated far enough through the back up to reach what it needed to, and we ended up recovering him the next morning. Not ideal, but it happens. I know for a fact where this deer hit or where this arrow hit. If it would have been a mechanical head, especially some of the highest selling ones, that thing, first of all, it probably wouldn't have penetrated far enough to even injure the deer. It may have left a big chunk of the head inside of it. And years later, when somebody else harvested it, they would have found it. I've read about a lot of that stuff, but that would be the worst thing, is finding it later like that. But
I mean, like, I just want to say, like, if I can give one bit of advice to anyone that's listening to this for broadheads, maybe don't know, is if your broadhead has an aluminium anything in it, don't buy it. That's just what I'm going to put out 100%. There right now. It doesn't matter what part of it is. If there's an aluminium something in it, do not buy it. Like, aluminium ferrules are terrible. And, I would hate to think there's probably some other weird aluminium parts out there too, but
And really quick, can I say this, Matt? People, I've killed tons of deer with mechanical, but how many have you lost? People won't tell you how many they've lost, and that includes a lot of the professionals. First of all, the shots they miss, because a lot of these guys aren't very good archers. They're just not, and admittedly so off camera. On camera, they show you that perfect shot, and they show you the 8 inches of penetration they got with their mechanical head, and they get out their dogs and they find them, and everything's happy, and that's just normal for a lot of people. Search dogs are last resort. That's if things go bad, and things use them if you need to recover your animal. But what I would say is, if you think about the typical setup, say 60 to 65 pounds, 28-inch draw, say 430 grain arrow, which is a pretty typical setup, somewhere around 70-ish foot-pounds, I think, in that neighborhood. Out of the bow, at the bow, you are giving up almost half of that to open your mechanical head when it gets to the animal. So let's say out of the bow, you've got 35 foot-pounds of energy out of the bow, not at 30 yards. When it starts to erode downrange, and the lighter arrow is going to erode faster because the velocity squared. So then on impact, let's say you punch the trigger, you torque the bow, then your arrow's crooked. You're going to hit that thing, and then it's less energy. That's why you see the arrows get 6, 8, 10 inches of penetration. And then other times, maybe it's a really, really good shooter. It's a really soft spot, maybe rib only, or maybe between ribs, and you'll see mechanicals blow through animals. But that's not typical. It's just not.
No,
it's not.
It's funny. Is the more I dig into the industry, the more I realize how much bullshit, being honest with you, goes on. And something that I actually you just reminded me about now is arrow flight. And if you watch some of these professionals' videos, the arrow flight in their videos is terrible. I mean, and this is absolutely no sliding around, but the Badlands Film Festival I went to, right? They had a few archery things in there. There was not one slow motion arrow flight there that I would be happy with. I'm just going to put that out there. And that's what I'm saying is, I think you and me are probably similar, where we tinker and we get things flying as great as we can. You know what I mean? And these are wobbling all over the place. Like, it was terrible, and unfortunately one lady, I think she missed the bear or something, but watching that arrow fly out, I was just like, what? I mean, like, it's probably always going to miss, to be honest. Like, you know what I mean? Because, but it's actually like your signature too, right? Like everything you do in life, if you're not, like, it shows, right? So, like, if your arrow's not leaving the bow properly, I'm sorry, but you're just lazy, or you don't know what you're doing. There's only two things about that. Like, unless you can think, you can correct me with something, right? But if you're a professional trying to be a professional hunter, like, show that you're professional in everything you do. And everyone's human. You're going to make mistakes. Like I've clipped sticks and stuff, and you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like things happen, but like if you're trying to put yourself in there on the stage, like everybody's watching this stuff. Everybody notices it. Does it make a difference? I don't know, but you know what I mean? You get a lead from the front. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So it's just interesting. I don't know. Yeah. Like I said, the longer I'm in this, the more I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
with,
Yeah,
with the people.
and knowing your capabilities too. We hit on
Oh,
that earlier.
yeah.
So Alex,
100%.
you had started last year. How far would you feel comfortable taking a shot at a deer, completely broadside or quartering away, which is ideal? How far would you feel comfortable?
Within 30 for sure. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Yep.
knowing your capabilities, and if the situation is not perfect, you just let it walk. We owe that to the
Mhm.
animals. We have to.
Mhm.
Mm,
And what I said earlier too, not being worried about a deer that's quarter into, if it's at 35 yards and it's on edge and quarter into, I'm not taking that shot. What I meant was knowing the situation matters.
mm,
And again, that comes back from what I said before. We're screwing a lot of stuff up over the years and learning when to draw, when to shoot, what the deer react to.
mm.
As Troy says, that the deer get a vote, and they do. They can
Yeah.
move, they can duck, they can roll. There's a lot of things they can do.
Yeah. The only thing I'm not so sure about is like there's something magic happens at about the 40-yard mark where the deer don't seem to react. For me, I don't know. Again, like maybe I've been lucky, right? But there's just something about
Mm-hmm.
that range where they just look at you. You know what I mean? Like the arrow can be flying straight at them, and they're just like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't deem to duck. And then I have messed up a couple of shots under 10 yards, and I'm just being honest with you. It's like I don't really think that necessarily a further shot is harder all the time. Obviously, I'm talking about both ends of the spectrum,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just kind of something weird that happens there around that 40-yard mark. And like, I get really frustrated with the Swedes here. It's illegal. I don't know if you know much about bow hunting in Europe, Brian, but I have to go to Finland and all the sorts of other places to go bow hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And they are hell bent on trying to get, I don't know if it's at the legislation stage, but they're trying to basically cap shots to 20 yards with a bow. And I just think they set themselves up for failure because A, that's pretty unpoliceable, right? Who's going to be able to police that? And you are writing a law in there that could shoot us in the foot, really. I mean, it doesn't exist for rifles. They have a
Yeah.
suggestion for shotguns here in Sweden. So maybe that's what they're basing it off. But and I always say, like, how would people, go and hunt? You look at the Americans that shoot the elk and the mule deer and stuff, and those parts where getting in within 70 yards is difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's and it all comes down to what you just said to double back is like people need to be really honest about their skill level, and
Yes.
if you make a mistake, you got to own it and learn from it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, it's pretty interesting, really. the,
It
the
is.
whole the whole world, and there's never a good answer for it, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you will mess up.
oh, 100%. It's
You
it's
will.
hunting.
That's
Yeah,
Yeah. You're going to.
yeah,
It's going to happen.
yeah.
Try to
That's
minimize it, but it's going to happen. Bow hunting's
yeah,
tough. It's hard.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right, I want to sort of end on a bit more of a touchy subject, maybe about like expandable heads, right? Sorry, I got a bug here. You guys are probably never going to do an expandable head, is that right?
I hope not.
Yeah, because it's funny. Is like I actually like I view broadheads like tools, right? Everything you have is a tool,
Yeah.
and I actually think for probably deer like whitetail deer size and under, they have a place. And I mean, like for instance, when I go to New Zealand, it's not uncommon to shoot 4 goats a day. You know what I mean, like or something like that. Really, really fun. And you know what I mean, like you don't want to be putting single bevels through goats. I'm just going to tell you that's a big, real expensive, real fast. So
Mm-hmm.
there needs to be, there just kind of needs to be some sort of other tool, I guess, to use for that sort of bow hunter as well. Unless maybe that just doesn't fit with your brand too. I totally understand that as well. So that's a
Mhm.
consideration to take. But like, I would love to see like you guys, everything you make is good. So if you were to make it expandable, I would imagine that would be good too. That's kind of where I'm going with it. And
Mhm.
um, yeah, I just would love to see it in the VPA arsenal in the lineup, basically. But
Yeah, I guess I would say too, we would only put out any product, mechanical or not, if we could prove it was ethical, just like our other broadheads, keep it American made and, ensure that it's better than others on the market. So I don't think it's a, never say never, but, right now we're focusing kind of on our current product line and,
hmm
um, you know, ethics is a huge, huge factor in kind of what drives our decision. So
hmm
until we know we'd have something engineered, and a need for something more reliable and ethical there, then maybe one day.
yeah, that's cool. And I mean, like I've tested quite a few expandables out in the past, and I know enough now to know what not to use. I guess like down that line, and there are some that are very well engineered. You know what I mean? And then there are some that just aren't as well. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to put that out there that I think there is a place for expandables. It's more about your bow setup, what you're shooting, and all that other stuff. I just wanted knowing that I don't think they're necessarily all dirty and evil. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
I think again, it just comes back down to like us we are talking about earlier, is the marketing and the messages and everything behind it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
if you're going to build one, like you said, no aluminum, make
no,
the thing all steel, make it
hmm
rear blade deploying.
yes.
Don't stamp the blades. Do something with those things where they are solid and strong and tough, and there's no minimal weak areas.
Mhm,
I guess the issue with that for me is somebody like myself. I'm a long draw shooter. I could shoot really anything I want. I
mhm,
choose to shoot fixed blades because I'm greedy. I want all the energy. I want
mhm,
all of it. I don't want to give
mhm.
any of it away to open. I've had two bad experiences in my 5 years using mechanicals, and I just swore them off forever. However, there are applications for it, like you said.
Mhm.
Some of the ones I like watching, Tim Wells. Shot a turkey the other day, and
Yeah, I
it's just
saw
one
that.
of the giant decapitators, and
Yeah.
those are pretty cool. So they have a place there for sure. Turkey hunting, I would say, might be something that I could see, the application for me
Yeah.
personally.
I guess
Um,
I guess the other thing too is like I was saying is like I like tinkering and I like just changing stuff, for different reasons sometimes. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't do, but I just like that option there sometimes is what I'm saying
yeah,
is that
yep,
especially for like roe deer and stuff, that oh geez, what is that? About that ringing wet, they're about 65 pounds or something, I
got it.
think. You
Yep,
know what I mean?
yep.
And a big one. And something like that, you can put a massive cut in it. It's you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
Smaller structure, thin skin. Yeah.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. Just and like just arguing ethics, and I'm only just being devil's advocate here, but like in theory, on something smaller like that, it may even be more ethical to use an expandable
Hmm.
because you know what I mean. Like the kind of a bit more paper thin compared to a whitetail deer,
Yes.
you can get a much bigger cut in them, and
Hmm.
you kind of almost you're going to go right through them unless you're shooting something really weak. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But you're going to be able to do more damage basically than with a single bevel.
Hmm.
Pro like I think I don't know if you dispute that or not, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I would say like I do know that one of our field staff guys, Peter Julesgaard in Denmark,
mm-hmm,
he shoots a lot of roe deer, and he
mm-hmm,
uses, I think it's the 203 blade, 200 or
mm-hmm,
250.
Hmm.
It's something like that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
shoots a trad bow and has harvested a ton of those things with it. I
yeah,
love his videos.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I've watched any of his stuff, but he'd be maybe someone good to have a chat to too, actually, because
Hmm.
um, roe
He
deer,
would. Yep.
yeah, roe deer are actually a bit of a nemesis for me, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Um, I just yeah, they're yeah, I don't know what it is. If you got a nemesis animal, that's my one anyway. I've only shot one, put it that way, with my arrows. So yeah, they just well, it seems to be a whole lot of bad luck for me with roe deer every
Hmm.
single time. It's nothing I can ever predict either. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Hmm. I'd
but
love the opportunity to shoot one.
well, dude, if you want to come to Finland, I always say you guys are more than welcome to. So we got plenty
Awesome.
of roe deer over there. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah, I'm going over actually after. Oh, it's to the day in a month's time. I'm going over to
Hmm.
Finland for the spring roebuck season. So
All right.
yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
should be good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Well,
fun.
I want to thank you guys like heaps for this. It's been good. I am it's nice to be able to get more information out there to all the supporters and stuff too, because you guys are a really good company and you supported me a lot, and I really appreciate it. So, and if you guys any listening out there want good broadheads, definitely check out VPA. I swear by them, and it's all I use. So, yeah, really, really good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries at all. And
Yeah. Thank you,
we
Matt.
I have to get you over to Europe, you guys. Shooting
That'd
whatever
be
you want to
awesome.
shoot. There's red stags, fallow deer, you name it, and we got it all over here. So
Nice.
yeah, perfect. All right, cheers, guys. Catch up.
Thank you, Matt.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening. Appreciate it. Make sure you follow us for more.